First, let's bring in our political editor, Andrew Clennell. And Andrew, energy a big focus at that press club with Angus Taylor. For the government today, again, it's been about energy, but also interest rates and cost of living, inflation more broadly.
Yes, Kieran, 1 week after a budget which told us that inflation would peak at 7.75%, the PM has upped that figure after the Reserve Bank's forecast yesterday.
Well, the inflation's now expected to peak at around about 8% by the end of the year. Inflation is in double digits in parts of Europe and North America. It's why our budget was a responsible budget. It's why we targeted cost of living relief to areas that didn't place pressure on inflation.
So once again today it's all about the cost of living, and yesterday's interest rate rise with the Prime Minister to address this conference held by the Australian newspaper in Melbourne tonight and talk up the need for holding the line on government spending with a brief mention of reform. For the first time in many Tuesdays, there was no cabinet meeting yesterday on Melbourne Cup Day, although it appears restraint was shown in terms of the PM or ministers attending the Cup, a smart move in this cost of living crisis. Only Annika Wells and Don Farrell turned up to Flemington. After the interest rate decision yesterday, Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe talked last night about the evil of inflation, as he put it, how the Reserve Bank had to act or inflation could push things over the edge into a recession. Makes you wonder why the bank didn't increase rates by 0.5 yesterday.
But this morning we also discussed the consequences of not raising interest rates and allowing high inflation to persist and become entrenched in expectations. If this were to happen, the evil of inflation would be with us for longer, and the eventual increase in interest rates needed to bring inflation down would be even larger. This would increase the risk of a severe recession and a sharp rise in unemployment.
Philip Lowe seems confident, though, that inflation will decrease next year. He talks about an ongoing resolution of supply-side problems and a decline in commodity prices as well as rising rates. The first two predictions seem fuelled by hope.
Over the year to September, the inflation rate in Australia was 7.3%. We're expecting it to go higher over the rest of this year and reach around 8% later in the year before inflation starts to decline next year. We're expecting it to decline because the global supply-side problems are being resolved, commodity prices are coming down in global markets, and our higher interest rates are leading to a slowdown in demand, so that we're going to get a better balance between supply and demand in the economy.
Today we've seen figures from the ABS which show building approvals down 6% after a 23% drop last month. The value of new loan commitments for housing fell 8.2% in September 2022 after a fall of 3.4% in August, and the value of new owner-occupier loan commitments fell by 9.3% in September, while the value of new investor loan commitments fell 6%. Well, it's spring. This is when houses usually sell. You'd expect those figures to be going up. So safe to say the slowdown has begun. And here are the state-by-state figures on approvals. Down almost everywhere, but not so much the case in Victoria. The Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor was at the National Press Club earlier for his budget reply address, and he said that Jim Chalmers' opposite number squibbed it when it came to cutting spending in the budget and helping with inflation.
Deficits are now forecast to grow higher over that period, rising from $32 billion in the 21-22 final budget outcome to $51.3 billion in 24-25. Deficits going up over that time period. But what's most alarming is that the government's own fiscal strategy actually abandons the goal to return the budget to balance. It abandons that goal. The point here is that there's no comprehensive plan to deal with it. Almost to the point where the Treasurer is much more comfortable giving forecasts, making commentary, mostly about doom and gloom, rather than telling us what the plan is. And that's the missed opportunity.